Got this medical examiner in New York City. The first thing she does within 5 days, she makes a decision that the death of Jeffrey Epstein is a suicide. And do you think that was unusual?
Well, I think the autopsy findings had not shown that to be true, and that it required further investigation.
Okay, so what are the autopsy findings? Let's get them. I think we have a full screen, guys.
The autopsy findings
right there
showed that there were petechial hemorrhages in the eye, which you prosecuted people.
Right.
There was a deep mark around in the neck, and the hyoid bone and thyroid cartilages fractured in three places. It was a crushing of the neck, not a single ligature in a hanging. And he was not hanging. The one photograph that was taken of the scene after he was improperly removed from the scene, after he was dead, it should not have been removed and destroyed the scene, show that the ligature was about 3 feet off the floor.
All right, we're going to get to that in a second. Now, I want to be real clear. I want the viewers to understand, and I've tried these intentional strangulation cases too.
Yes.
The breaking of the hyoid bone, the fracture of the thyroid cartilage, that means serious force on the neck.
Yes.
Okay, that you don't normally get in hanging, especially in a hanging. I want that next screen, guys. I want you to look at the, here's a bunk bed. The height is 5'6", on his knees. Epstein is 4 feet tall. You now have been able to identify that the tie was right there.
Right around here.
Right around here. So let's assume we've got Jeffrey Epstein. I'm out of the chair, guys. We've got Jeffrey Epstein. If he's kneeling and the ligature is from there, there's like no force that can break the hyoid bone.
Well, the ligature is tied up here, but it's down to the floor as far as the body goes.
Yeah.
So there's not enough force there to cause any fracture.
Any fracture at all, let alone the fractures
in this particular
that you and I know
hang.
are indicative of intentional strangulation, a homicide. Right. All right, let's talk about the fact that there were 5 agencies investigating. You know and I know that a decision by a medical examiner is not just based upon the body and the autopsy, that in fact there are other circumstances that you assess.
In every death, the autopsy gives a lot of information, but has to be interpreted in the light of all the surrounding evidence at the scene and other evidence that may be found in the investigation of the death. So when somebody has an overdose of drugs, it could be suicide, homicide, accident, depending on all the other information that's available.
What would you have wanted to look at in addition to the body?
Well, the condition at the scene, because apparently he had, from the nature of the ligature, which is very tight around the middle of the neck, not the top of the neck, he had been dead for a few hours. We could see that right away before the body was found. The cameras weren't working that was supposed to be on him. Like the FBI would come in as a federal case. What did they find? Was that sloppiness because the cameras didn't work, or were the wires cut? Or did they find something that showed the FBI, in looking at the film that was not good condition, they show him putting a noose around his neck, or an unauthorized person going into his cell? Mm-hmm. Did they investigate and in all these cases that happened, they have to talk to the inmates in the surrounding cells, their adjacent cells. What did the other inmates see? And interview the guards too. But the inmates can have a lot of knowledge.
Guards were asleep. Why are both guards asleep?
Occasionally I've seen investigating deaths in prisons that one guard has fallen asleep and then fudged the report. But I've never seen 2 guards fall asleep. That doesn't sound right at all. And there was one photograph taken after the body was removed, which you should look at, and it looks kind of staged. The noose and the body was.
There's no DNA. There's no DNA from the noose.
If the FBI or the New York City Police had examined the ligature, the noose and ligature for DNA, It would be interesting to know, is it his DNA or somebody else's DNA?
All right, doctor, we got to go. You know, I hate it. I love this case. I want to have you back to talk about it. Plus, there are a lot of people who might have had a motive to kill, but we're not going to.
That has been suggested.
Got to go. Dr. Bob.